Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, here back once again with another awesome Geography Now video. It's been a while since we've done one because we've caught up to all the Geography Now videos till this point. So if you're new to this channel, I've done every single country between A and S. So definitely, if you're interested, definitely check out other countries. But yeah, this one just got released a few days ago, and yeah, I've been looking forward to this to be released. So I definitely want to check it out. Sweden, big, well-known country, Nordic country, right? I believe, right? As a Canadian, I know they're very, very, very good at ice hockey. So definitely know about that. And yeah, like I said, I've done Finland, done Norway, and kind of expecting, it's the same part of the world, right? I mean, they're right next to each other, so expecting kind of like a similar landscape kind of thing. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, I know them from like one of the biggest, bigger memories I have when it comes to their history is I've done a series on the 30 Years' War, and if I remember correctly, like the King of Sweden played a big part in that war, and I remember that because I think part of like more recent history, there's Sweden, I don't believe was part of any like played a big role in kind of wars when it came to like World War One or two. You don't really hear them mentioned, but like back then around the 30 Years War time, they were a big player. I mean, they're still a big player, but as far as wars go, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just blabbering on. You guys want to watch the video, and so do I. So let's go ahead and check it out. Before I do, if you wouldn't mind, I'd really appreciate it if you guys hit the subscribe and like button if you haven't yet. I'd really appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate that. So thank you very much. And we're gonna jump into this video. I hope you guys got a drink. I got my drink. Got my Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. That's right. That's my awesome diet. The only thing I'm on a diet is because I drink diet soda, right? So that means I'm on a diet. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, get to this. 3, 2, 1, bam.
Introduction, I'm sure you've all heard of this one. We've scaled the treacherous Danish peaks of Møllehøj, stomached the ammonia-flavored Icelandic Haukak, and our wallets were viciously attacked by Norwegian prices of anything. But now it's time. Welcome to the final boss of Scandinavia, Sweden.
Well, I know Sweden has beautiful people. I definitely heard that. You guys are probably, I think, very tall, I believe. And I'm expecting prices to be kind of high too over here. I think I heard that too. But anyways, sorry.
Prices of anything, but now it's time. Welcome to the final boss of Scandinavia, Sweden. Ooh, it's hot. I'm all hot and sweaty right now.
You know the drill.
Oh yeah, okay.
Kick it.
Oh yeah, Noah's back, by the way.
Here we are.
Yep.
What's up?
It's time to learn geography.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Get a Geography Now t-shirt or Geography Now merch at geographynow.com. Not selling out if it's your brand. Anyway, alright you guys, this is it. Our last Nordic country.
But what about...
Your constituent.
But what about?
You're an unincorporated territory.
But what about me?
We already did your video, I even went there. Okay, anyway, I actually wanted to go to Sweden for this episode, but at the last minute, Sweden was like, duh.
The Nordic countries, though, I have watched, they've definitely been super interesting, and I've loved every one of them. So, anyways, yeah, so definitely check out those videos. Let's see if they saved the best Nordic country for last. We'll find out, right?
I even went there. Okay, anyway, I actually wanted to go to Sweden for this episode, but at the last minute, Sweden was like, duh, we're gonna close off our borders to anyone outside the EU. But you know how it goes. The show must go on. And if we can't go to Sweden, we're gonna bring Sweden to us, and in the best possible way, with real Swedish people. And I mean like real Swedes, not those 5th generation Minnesota Swedes that eat lutefisk once a year. And so with that, say hi to Jonas and Carolina. Come on in. Woo! Yeah! I got 2 Swedes. So you guys are the real deal, Swedish. Straight up, right?
I was born in Sweden and lived there for 10 years, and then my mom moved.
There we go. And isn't oh my god, I'm getting in trouble if I get this right. Isn't it like PewDiePie from Sweden? He's Swedish, PewDiePie, right? He's cool. But yes, look at beautiful people. Yes, I'm already right about the beautiful people.
sold me to the enemy, to Norway.
Oh, so you're half Norwegian, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm from Skåne, so we might have some angry people out there claiming I'm Danish, but
It was LA. You guys were the best I could find. So anything you want to say to the Swedish subscribers?
Nah, I'm excited for you guys to learn more about your country. Our country.
Oh my god.
By the way, where are you guys from?
I'm from Helsingborg.
And I'm from Skellefteå.
Now, there are many ways you can divide Europe. You know, like you have the Mediterranean,
Tomato for sale, tomato.
the post-Iron Curtain, the Balkans. But everyone knows the further north you go, things start to get delicious and sweet.
Anyway, lots to cover. Let's look at the globe.
Sweden lies in the region of Scandinavia in Northern Europe and is the largest of all the Scandinavian countries, the 5th largest in Europe and 3rd in the EU. The country is bordered by Norway to the west and north, and Finland in the northeast, separated by the Gulf of Bothnia otherwise between them. In this gulf, you can also find Sweden's 2 largest islands, Öland and Gotland. Otherwise in the south, the only other physical connection they technically have is with Denmark via the partially submerged and partially above ground Öresund Bridge that connects Malmö, the 3rd largest city, to Copenhagen. I'm trying my best with these pronunciations, bear with me. The country's largest city, though, and capital is Stockholm, located on the east side of the country, and it actually sits on 14 islands with over 50 bridges at the drainage of Lake Mälaren, with over 20 lakes and countless streams. This is why it is sometimes referred to as the Venice of the North. The country is divided into 21 counties, each abbreviated by a letter or double letter known as a country code. For the EU statistical system, though, the counties are grouped into 8 riksområden, or national areas, to address things like population data and so forth, but they in themselves do not have any administrative function. Otherwise, if you ask a Swede, they might revert back to the 3 traditional lands of Sweden: Norrland, Svealand, and Götaland. Technically, there was a 4th, Österland, which was basically South Finland when it was under Swedish rule, but that term hasn't been used since the 15th century. Anyway, Stockholm is also the central hub of economic activity and transportation. The largest and busiest airport is Stockholm's Arlanda International, which, like so many European international airports, is located super far from the actual city. It takes a 20-minute express train or 45-minute car drive to downtown. The second largest airport, Landvetter International, is located in the second largest city, Göteborg, or Gothenburg for the misguided English speakers. Göteborg actually also has the largest shipping port in the country and the largest in all of Scandinavia, taking in about 1/3 of all Swedish trade activity. It lies on the Kattegat and Skagerrak, the shallow straits that open up Scandinavia to the rest of the world. With other major cities like Oslo and Copenhagen within radius, here about 70% of all industry and commerce through Scandinavia happens. It's a busy spot to say the least. Finally, the country has quite an organized system of roads and rail networks that more or less parallel each other. There are 2 main north-south highways, the E4 that hugs the entire...
Basically, kind of like Canada, where like pretty much everyone's like around the border, and the further north you get, it kind of like, you know, is more scarce and scarce of people, right? You know, everyone kind of likes the warmth. Makes sense, right?
Bothnia coast, and the E45, the longest road in the country that goes along the mountains inland from Göteborg all the way to the border with Finland in the north.
Also, it's important to note that Sweden claims to have the most islands out of any other country in the world, at over 260,000.
In any case,
Most islands, isn't that like a Finnish thing, a Finland thing? Heard that Finland has the most islands. I guess I could be wrong. You know, maybe it's Sweden.
The most islands out of any other country in the world, at over 260,000.
In any case, Sweden's domain wasn't always confined to these borders.
For starters, Sweden, being Scandinavian, obviously have Viking history.
I'm back. Hey, Finland has the most lakes in the world, right? And then Sweden has the most islands. Okay, is that the difference? Is that what I think? That's what I'm thinking about. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
These borders.
For starters, Sweden, being Scandinavian, obviously have Viking history. If you know anything about Vikings, you'll know that they went places.
They were literally in the Americas 500 years before Christopher Columbus.
And when they couldn't conquer an area, they still left their mark somehow. Even the Hagia Sophia in Turkey has runic inscriptions hidden on it.
It was like Viking graffiti, like Vikings were here.
On top of that, in the 1600s, Sweden started to become a European powerhouse, and like many other countries, took an attempt at settling and colonizing places outside of Europe.
At one point, Sweden had fortresses and colonies in the Americas, Africa, mostly in what now is Ghana.
Further, which it's more, within Sweden, you...
See, that's not like something I would never would have thought about. You know, I think Sweden, I didn't really think of them as, you know, places like, you know, France and England who had all these colonies everywhere around the world. So that's kind of cool. You know, Sweden, you know, tested the waters and got their own little places out there. I wish that was kind of more well known.
You even have a few micronations.
We don't have time to get into each of them, but they're pretty interesting. One of them was made as a protest by an artist to protect those wooden sculptures.
Anyway, the developmental structure behind Sweden has a lot of history behind it.
Like Visby on Gotland Island, probably the best preserved medieval city in Scandinavia.
The Old Town Stockholm neighborhood of Gamla Stan was built as a fortress to protect against pirates.
Later on, one of your kings would actually become a pirate, but that's another story. In fact, the country has 15 UNESCO heritage sites, and actually here's fellow geography Rebecca to explain a little bit more about the top notable sites of Sweden. Rebecca, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name's Rebecca, and if you're ever in Sweden, here are some of the most notable sites. There are plenty of notable castles, fortresses.
This is like part of my favorite part of these Geography Now show, because I always like to think if I went there to visit, these are the places that I debate on where to visit at in these countries. And if you watch this channel for a while, you know I love castles and that kind of history stuff. So this is going to be awesome.
Sweden, here are some of the most notable sites. There are plenty of notable castles, fortresses, and cathedrals, such as Drottningholm Castle, Gripsholm Castle, Örebro Castle, Visby Town Wall, Uppsala Cathedral, and St. Mary's Cathedral. Sweden also has the high.
Cool. So you got your castle like a lot more fancy. Like when I think of castles, I think of like, I guess medieval time castles, like not really decorative, like where there's a whole bunch of sieges on the castle and stuff. But your guys, it doesn't seem like you guys have too much of a problem with that, but because your castles are pretty decorative and pretty neat, cool looking, so that's awesome. See, like when I think of like castles, I know this is like a wall, but like I think more like this, so there's a siege and then there's a bigger castle behind it kind of thing. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Hope so.
Town Wall, Uppsala Cathedral, and St. Mary's Cathedral. Sweden also has the highest concentration of runestones in the world, with the most famous one being Rökstenen. There's also many historical Viking sites, such as Birka Viking Village, Trelleborgen, Old Uppsala, and Alestenar. If you're looking for more excitement, check out.
Yeah, I definitely check out the Viking site. I love Vikings. I've done a series here on Vikings. I've watched the entire TV show on Vikings, which makes me an expert. And
Trelleborgen, Old Uppsala, and Alestenar. If you're looking for more excitement, check out the theme parks Liseberg, Gröna Lund, and Skara Sommarland. Notable museums in Sweden are the Vasa Museum, ABBA Museum, Fotografiska, and the Museum of Natural History. In Stockholm, you can find the newly renamed Avicii Arena. It also acts as the sun in the largest scale model of our solar system. Thank you, and I hope you come to visit Sweden someday.
Thank you, Rebecca.
I hope so.
Speaking of Swedish places, like other Nordic countries, we have allemansrätten, which is the legal right to roam anywhere in nature.
Have you guys ever taken advantage of that allemansrätten thing?
Nice.
You just like...
That's the same thing. I think in Norway and Finland have the same thing. So you guys can basically roam into each other's country. It's like as long as you kind of clean up after yourself, you can kind of basically go on a hike and kind of stop anywhere, just pick up after yourself, leave it as you came to it kind of thing, right? Right? All right.
Pick berries and like, hey.
Yeah, I mean, most places are owned by the country, so you're allowed to be there.
Can you just like walk in someone's backyard and be like, hey?
No.
Allemansrätten?
No, it has to be public land.
Well, speaking of roaming in nature, there's lots to explore in Sweden, which brings us to...
I mean, like, I'm sure, like, you just, if I'm walking and hiking and I end up, like, coming across someone's house, I'm going to be like, it's probably not a good idea. I'd probably walk the opposite way and avoid the house, Otherwise, you think that people would be, I'm sure they're pretty friendly if you just happen to hike in their yard and they see you. They probably like, hey, what's up? This is my land, but go for it, man. You just, keep on walking. I'm sure people are probably pretty nice and all that good stuff and really wouldn't mind as long as you just kept on going through, I don't know. All right, first commercial to skip. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Now, in the Nordics, each country kind of has their own trademark physical trait.
Norway has the mountains and fjords.
Denmark has the flat grassy farms.
Finland is the land of lakes.
And Iceland is basically just one big volcano.
And then you get to Sweden and it's like a little bit of everything. Yes, there's even a small sand volcano in Simrishamn.
Yeah.
Sweden lies on the...
So basically, Sweden has the best of all worlds, so they don't really have to go visit the other Nordic countries, they can just kind of stay at home because they have everything, right? Pretty much. Let me know in the comments.
The Scandinavian peninsula of northern Europe, shared with Norway, on the east side of the Scandinavian mountain chain that separates them. Here you can also find the tallest peak, Kebnekaise, in the far north. This means that Sweden gets most of its river runoff from the mountains that mostly flow down into the Gulf of Bothnia, and the longest river shared with Finland being the Torne or Tornio River. The longest river fully within Sweden, though, being the Dalälven River. Amongst these rivers is an abundance of lakes and ponds, peppering the flatter hilly valleys below, the largest of these lakes being Värnen and Vättern in the south. The reason Sweden has so many of these pockety lake zones and eroded rivets is because they sit on a post-glacial rebound zone. Basically, during the Ice Age, all this land was crushed by heavy ice. But after the ice melt, like a sponge, Sweden started to slowly spring back up again. This means every year Sweden recovers on average about 4 millimeters of land from the sea. In some places, even more. This is why you might see extended piers from old homes that once used to be situated on the shore. The country has 4 general climate zones: the oceanic zone in the south by the Baltic Sea. This is also where most of the agriculture is situated. The continental zone is in the middle part of the country. And finally, the subarctic in the north just above that. These areas have the highest forest concentration in the country. Also, the peaks of the mountains are classified as tundra. The top 15% of Sweden lies just north of the Arctic Circle, where the coldest temperatures and highest snowfall happens. Otherwise, in the south, they might not even get any snow at all in the winter. Just cold, depressing rain. Numbers fluctuate depending on which source you study, but somewhere around or above 60% of the country is forested, making it the second most forested country in Europe after Finland.
It's also important to note that Sweden has aprilväder, or April weather, in which,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Well, the sun is finally out after 6 months of darkness. So clothes come off. We sit in the sun. Oh, whenever you see a Swede too, expect this. Facing the sun, eyes closed. And then all of a sudden a storm hits or snow comes or...
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
What?
The interesting thing, though, is that Sweden in the past was kind of not much like what they are today. In fact, at the beginning of the 20th century, much of Scandinavia was struggling with widespread poverty.
However,
Yeah.
much like Germany's Wirtschaftswunder, they had the Rekordåren, in which Sweden's economy bursted with now industries and innovation.
And today you have the largest economy and most powerful nation in Northern Europe.
To explain a little bit more on the way Sweden takes what it has and flourishes, here's Noah. He's back!
Well, here we are. Once again, let's get to it. Despite having lush green lands, only about 7% of the country is arable. Therefore, agriculture isn't exactly their main focus. Today, much of Sweden's open market economy is heavily based on exports, especially in the timber and mining sectors. The largest mine in Kiruna is actually so large they are currently in the process of moving the town and residents to make more mines. This is how Sweden in the 21st century became the world's 6th largest iron ore exporter and 3rd.
I was gonna think, man, that would have to suck for that town there. But I imagine the people who live in that town probably all work in that mine, so I mean they're probably cool with that as far as probably moving because hey, if you want to keep your job, you want to keep that job going, so it's a little inconvenience, to keep the mining going, right? Nice little town.
This is how Sweden in the 21st century became the world's 6th largest iron ore exporter and 3rd largest stainless steel exporter. And of course, lumber. The Swedes love trees so much that a long time ago during famine times, they would put crushed tree bark into their rye bread, which was actually good because the bark had lots of minerals and fiber. Go figure. The lumber industry plays a huge role.
They still do that? Is that still a thing? Does it taste good? Or can you not know the difference? I'm definitely curious on that one.
In their world-renowned furniture commerce. We've all heard of IKEA having over 450 stores in about 60 countries. IKEA. They actually studied that in design school.
I didn't realize IKEA was Swedish, so I definitely learned that today.
450 stores in about 60 countries. IKEA. They actually studied that in design school.
Is that true, Noah?
That is true. Not that I do it, but here we are. You might be familiar with other Swedish companies like Electrolux, Ericsson, H&M, Saab, Scania, Spotify, and of course the largest domestic company and only one on the Fortune 500 list, Volvo. Great cars, I might say. And that is that. Until we meet again.
Thank you, Noah.
Now, going off of business talk, domestically, Sweden does have a pretty complex system when it comes to taxes that plays into their fiscal structure.
As of 2021, their individual tax rates range from about 32% to 52% based on income bracket margins. And that's not even including other factors like corporate value-added taxes, which can be up to 25%.
When you add them, you get the second highest total tax revenue behind Denmark as a share of its country's income.
Yeah, that's, you guys kind of have high taxes.
Well, we also have healthcare.
And good schools.
And good
And
roads.
we get free food, roads.
Roads. In any case, another interesting thing about Sweden.
Yes, the healthcare is definitely a big one. As a Canadian who lives in the U.S., I love that Canada has healthcare. I kind of wish the U.S. would kind of follow suit with the healthcare system here. I think they will eventually, though. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, watch me get some bad comments just saying that.
Free food, roads.
Roads. In any case, another interesting thing about Sweden is its wildlife. And with that, here's Gary Harlow to explain.
Guess who's back? As a Nordic country, Sweden is obviously a place full of cold climate animals. In fact, they have the third highest number of their national animal, the moose, or the Eurasian elk, after Russia and Canada. There's so many moose that they actually have to hunt around 100,000 every year to maintain population control. Killing your national animal because there's too many? Go Sweden! There are 30 national...
Hey, man, I don't think that's a bad problem. I mean, you got to eat, right? I mean, want to eat moose. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. I'd rather have too many of an animal and have to kill them, at least for you have food, than not have enough and then kind of have to block them off and save them and all that stuff. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, what's the difference in killing a moose and like killing a cow for a burger, right?
Killing your national animal because there's too many? Go Sweden! There are 30 national parks and nature prediction zones, and the most famous being in the North Lapland areas where reindeer, muskox, grey owls and brown bears can be spotted roaming freely. Fun fact,
Awesome.
Reindeer have climate adapted feet in the summer. Their spongy foot pads are more exposed, which help with traction. But in winter, the pads shrink and the hoof is exposed, which helps cut into the ice when moving. Finally,
Nice.
Sweden is one of the few places in the world with a real taxidermised whale. The mouth used to be open for visitors to walk into, but it was closed off to the public because a couple was caught having sex in it. Speaking of making babies, I made one myself.
So why would they close it down to the public? I mean, why not just have like a security guard, I guess, standing next to it where people aren't going to just have sex in the mouth? I don't know. It seems like an easy fix, now people are going to miss out by not being able to go in the mouth of the whale. That would stink.
A couple was caught having sex in it. Speaking of making babies, I made one myself. Here's a photo of my daughter. She's beautiful.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, I remember the first meal I had in Sweden was reindeer meatballs. You guys love your reindeer. What's your favorite dishes in Sweden?
It probably is reindeer meatballs. Yeah.
I would say salmon. Grilled in the summer, oven baked in the winter.
Oh yeah,
Sounds
you guys
good.
know fika, right? Yeah, fika. It's funny because coffee was actually banned from Sweden like 5 times in the 1700s, but that's another story. To explain a little bit more about fika and the food, here's Johan and Rikard. All right, guys, well, this is fika, and to explain, here is Johan.
So in Sweden, fika is a huge tradition. It's something you do daily. It's a part of a workday break where you kind of like gather, you sit down, and you have coffee. Historically, it's been that 7 types of cookies minimum, plus cinnamon rolls and cardamom rolls, and then pastries such as princess cakes and other things. Every day, but not necessarily this many sorts. I wanted to give you a cross section of what it could be. So, and then the most famous on the bottom would be the princess cake.
So if I'm gonna try some, I have to have some marzipan.
They say this happens every day. Like, that'd be awesome. Like, so if I go to Sweden, like, stay at someone's house, they kind of do this stuff. Count me in. It seems like that'd be like, something that I'd only see like if I was going to like my grandmother's house on a holiday, or something. She'd have all these sweets kind of thing going on. But this is like an everyday thing. That's awesome.
Pan. So many layers.
I know.
Wow.
And
Grammarly helps make your writing clear and concise, no matter where you are. Compose a cover letter.
Hello there, my name is Dick and I'm here to talk about some of the foods. We have kroppkakor or palt, depending on if you are from the north or the south. Sill, or as you will call it, herring. We have reindeer, pea soup, cauliflower soup, surströmming or sour herring, but eat at your own risk. All of these foods can be eaten.
I was gonna say I don't think I'd be able to eat a herring like that. So when you say eat at your own risk, at least I don't feel bad for kind of like not thinking I'd like it.
surströmming or sour herring, but eat at your own risk. All of these foods can be eaten at the traditional smörgåsbord or smörgåsbord, basically a Swedish buffet. We also have Kalles or Charles caviar. It's a Swedish style of smoked cod roe, not that super expensive. And of course we have knäckebröd! And the traditional national dish of Sweden, Swedish tacos. Over to some drinks from Sweden. We have akvavit or flavored caraway liquor, julmust on Christmas, and påskmust on Easter. Glögg, we have glögg. And of course my personal favorite, punch. It's made by the mixing of spirits like arak, brandy or rum with arak tea with some sugar and water. Very sweet, very strong, and very nice.
Thank you, Johan and Ricard. Oh, yeah, you guys also have something about like...
Yeah, I really haven't heard much of anything of that, those kind of drinks. That would definitely be new to me. I guess if I was going to a bar in Sweden, I'd just go to the bar and like, hey, as an outsider who's never really, drank anything from here, what would you recommend? I wonder what the bartender would recommend for me to try. I don't know. What would you guys recommend in the comments? You think they would recommend me something really good or something? I don't know. Probably like high percentage of alcohol, I would think. I don't know.
The alcohol in Sweden. Can you guys explain? What is that?
It's called the Systembolaget, which is like the Swedish system of selling heavily regulated alcohol at state-owned stores at set prices.
So you can be 18 and go to a bar to get liquor, but you can't buy it at a store until you're 20.
Correct.
Logic.
Logic, yeah.
The way it goes is that Norwegian people go to Sweden to buy alcohol, Swedish people go to Denmark to buy alcohol, and Danish people go to Germany to buy alcohol.
You guys all have a system.
Yeah, we have a system for cheap alcohol.
So there's probably a bunch of 16-year-olds taking a ferry over to Denmark.
The ferry itself is a party.
I've been on that ferry.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That is so interesting, though. I mean, I bet like kids in high school, man, that's like they just gather the troops to go for like these kind of trips like that. That's interesting.
Probably a bunch of 16-year-olds taking a ferry over to Denmark.
The ferry itself is a party.
I've been on that ferry. I've been on that ferry with my mom between Helsingborg and Helsingør. Oh, and a funny story, I was told when potatoes were introduced to Sweden, it was kind of like this.
What are these things? Well, obviously, liquor.
And that's how aquavit was born, supposedly. Oh, what's that thing about candy on Saturdays? Explain, Carolina.
Lördagsgodis. You get to eat candy on Saturdays. So when we were kids, we got a little amount of money. We got to run to the store and pick our favorite candy. It's amazing. Best in the world. I mean, yes, good ingredients. When you come here, pretty much half the ingredients.
Like Swedish fish, right? I love Swedish fish. Well, like, that sounds pretty cool. I used to go shopping with my parents on like Fridays, and I get to pick the candy I want. So this is kind of like a similar thing, right? That looks so good. There you go. You got the sharks here, right? Sweet. Those are good. Man, all this stuff looks good. I need to get some candy.
It's amazing. Best in the world. I mean, yes, good ingredients. When you come here, pretty much half the ingredients of American candy is illegal in Sweden. So.
Yeah, we do that. Well, on that note, we've talked a lot about some of your small little traditions. Let's explain a little bit more in...
Demographics.
I asked geography Johan to explain Swedish people and what they're like, and he described it something like this. A Swedish person is pretty reserved. They will definitely help you, but probably won't take the immediate initiative to help you. The way I see it, it's kind of like,
Oh no, I hope I don't fall. Oh, I'm falling. Oh, and I dropped my wallet. And I got the results of the test back. I definitely have breast cancer.
So basically, if you want to help, you better actually approach someone from a Swedish person and say, hey, I need help. What should I do? Because if you're just randomly walking down, like maybe looking at your phone or a map, trying to figure out where you're going, everyone's probably just going to walk past you and they'll be like, whatever. Is that kind of like how it is? I don't know. Because this guy.
Can help me? Or...
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to help you?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Also, what are some other kind of taboos in Swedish culture? What do you think?
I guess when you get on the bus, if there is another available seat and you go sit next to someone, don't do that. Just don't.
And don't have too much eye contact in general.
I mean, I think that's just bus etiquette or like anything etiquette. Like if you go like to a restaurant and there's like empty tables and half the tables are empty and half the tables have people on, why are you going to go sit at a table with someone on it and because you're just going to bug that person? Like it just seems odd, and when you have so many free tables, sit at, just like if you go to a movie theater and like it's half empty, like why are you going to go sit right next to somebody when there's so many more free open spots? I think that just goes for etiquette around the world. I just think that, right? I think most people watching this, I think, would agree with me, right? Anyways.
Seat and you go sit next to someone, don't do that. Just don't.
And don't have too much eye contact in general.
Preferably none.
Explain, what is logomeniantolo?
It's a law that basically tells you that don't think you're better than anyone. It's like, don't tell people that you got good grades. Just get them and move on.
But still, you know, kind of let them see it on you.
Yeah, it's definitely based on status.
Lagom is this word that does not exist in English, and it basically means not too much, not too little, just the perfect amount. I would say that a Swedish person is generally intelligent. Is that full of myself saying that?
Nah, it's just a result of our educational system.
That's right.
But part of your culture, Jantolon, you're not allowed to do that, right?
Well, we're not allowed to brag, no, but now we're in America, so...
Well, okay, so you can break that rule once you step out of the country. I got ya. Hey, man, I'm with you guys, man. You gotta brag about your own country when you have the chance, right? I do.
Not allowed to do that, right?
Well, we're not allowed to brag, no, but now we're in America, so...
Well, that was a discussion. Any case, let's break down the population of Sweden.
Sweden has a population of about 10.25 million and has one of the oldest populations in the world at about 41 years of age on average. About 75% of the country claims to be ethnically Swedish, and this is where things get a little complicated. For the remaining 25%, the Swedish government doesn't have any official statistical data on foreign background, but what we do know is that of these people, about 2 million of them were born abroad, and about 600,000 were born in Sweden as second generation with foreign parents. We also know that as of 2020, due to the refugee crisis, the largest immigrant communities had origins mostly from Syria and Iraq, which surpassed Finland and Poland in the 21st century for the largest foreign-born communities.
Yeah, we'll talk about the refugee thing later. But in the meantime...
Sweden uses the Swedish krona as its currency.
And we use the type C and F plug outlets. And we drive on the right side of the road. But we used to drive on the left side until September 3rd, 1967.
When the högertrafiksomläggningen was instituted.
And it was a crazy time. People were all confused and jamming into each other. In Sweden, the official language is, shocker, Swedish.
But the funny thing is, even though Swedish originated and has pretty much always been spoken natively in Sweden, Swedish actually only became official in the country in 2009.
Yeah, they kept kind of arguing about it. It was like...
No, it might be seen as more difficult for international issues. It might be seen as discriminatory, maybe, for those who don't speak Swedish. God!
So I guess maybe for tourism-wise, they're going to be like, people aren't going to want to visit our country because, you know, if it says we speak Swedish, they probably can't speak Swedish, so, you know, let's just have it blank so people think we kind of speak everything. I don't know.
Discriminatory, maybe, for those who don't speak Swedish. God!
So let's break this down. The country is called Sweden. What the do you think people should speak in Sweden?
And that's how Swedish became the official language of Sweden.
We've explained this before, but the three Scandinavian countries can all more or less understand each other. If you learn one, you can pretty much kind of communicate with the others. It's just, you know, when they hear Danish, it's like...
Oh, hey, Denmark. Interesting.
And the interesting thing is that the Swedish language has pitches.
Here's geography Marcus to explain a little bit more.
So yeah, Swedish is a very hard language to learn. We also have pitch dialect. Some words look and are pronounced exactly the same but have different meanings. So the word plan, it can mean a plan, like having a great plan. It can also mean pitch, like a football pitch, fotbollsplan. Banan, which means banana, but if you pronounce it banan, it means the track.
Thank you, Marcus.
In any case, on top of that, there are also 5 protected languages in Sweden. Finnish, Menkal, Sami, Romani, and Yiddish.
Also, Sweden has a lot of regional accents.
If she spoke her native language right now, or...
You don't even say dialect, you say language.
Native dialect, I wouldn't understand a word.
Say the most difficult southern Swedish thing you can say.
Okay, this is not my accent, okay? Disclaimer. Det är nämnt men tradigt och köra rulleball.
It is easy but difficult to drive a roller coaster.
Wheelbarrow, but that was really good.
Right?
Yeah.
All right.
You thought wheelbarrow was roller coaster. Whoa! In any case, Christianity was introduced in the 9th century. Today, most Swedes, regardless of their level of religious devotion or lack thereof, are at least registered with the Swedish Lutheran Church.
And like the Danes and Norwegians, they have their confirmation ceremonies at age 14 or 15.
In old times, ancient Swedes and the Norse people followed the Asatru religion. you know, where Thor, Odin, Loki, all of them were from.
Otherwise, Sweden is a constitutional monarchy, although they are mostly seen as just figurehead celebrities with almost no actual legislative power.
And today, the royal family is actually
pretty much like many other countries. You know, they're just a figurehead. You know, it's probably great for tourism kind of thing. It's just tradition. You know, you gotta keep those traditions alive. So I think that's really cool.
French descended.
For what it's worth, being the largest of the Scandinavian countries, Sweden has a lot on its plate.
In general, most people would say that the system works. Yes, we do have one of the highest life expectancies in the world at over 82 years.
People get paid to go to schools they are accepted in.
Healthcare is free for people under 18. Dental is free for anyone under 23.
Otherwise, there are price caps for medical and pharmaceutical services, and they are usually cheap.
However, for the population, there is a bit of a shortage in medical facilities, and like most state-subsidized healthcare systems, wait times can be an issue sometimes, and they follow the 0-30-90-90 rule. This rule states that a person cannot wait more than 90 days to see a specialist and 90 days after diagnosis to receive surgery unless it is deemed an emergency. This means that the worst case scenario, potentially, it could take almost half a year to get treated.
This is one reason why
and you have private insurance and it'll speed the process up. That's still way, way better than having no free no healthcare system at all, where you're paying a fortune to get any kind of surgery done or not at all, if you can't afford it. So I'd rather wait and actually get it done than not be able to get it done at all, right? So either way, I think, because Canada, it's kind of similar. You have to wait a while if you want something, you need something done, but at least you're getting it done and it's not costing you nothing.
1 out of 10 Swedes actually prefer private insurance, which was, made available in 2010 rather than relying on universal healthcare system.
Otherwise, we aren't going to fully sugarcoat this episode. Everyone knows that Sweden has seen quite a few drastic changes in the past decade or so. During the 2014-15 refugee crisis, Sweden saw a wave of asylum seekers, mostly from Syria and Iraq.
Obviously, this unexpected influx in such a short time, barely allowing the new immigrants time to integrate, kind of played out in many ways that made international news.
Now, this is where the narrative kind of steps on thin ice, because you want to be seen as compassionate, but you also can't avoid the fact that statistically problems that quiet Sweden had never really seen before obviously kind of started to arise. We've seen the news features, riots, multiple cities, crime rising, but at the same time, you also want to be seen as compassionate, but without sidestepping the issues. So the question was, how?
Well, it's not.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I mean, you're walking a fine line, and eventually you kind of have to say, okay, I get what they're saying on both sides here.
Not an easy question to answer.
So I don't know, what do you guys think of that whole situation of the drama?
You can see it as either win-win or lose-lose in many ways, because if you're completely against taking in immigrants, you're basically considered a racist. And if you're trying to turn a blind eye to the fact that, crime has risen a lot the last years, then that's not great either. So I think this is a fairly new problem, and it takes some time to really figure it out.
It's difficult.
And kind of a discussion of how to help people, integrate into the society in general.
Swedish society.
I think integration is keyword.
Half the people are gonna argue for all the benefits of opening our country up and helping people, and those are huge as well.
Yeah. See, this is kind of part of the complication of Sweden. There's always...
I mean, they have those kind of talks in all countries, when it comes, I guess, immigrants and how many you want to let in. I mean, it's not just a Sweden thing. I mean, I know many countries just, it's the same thing depending on what side of the aisle you're on. You're either more for it or more against it. So, I mean, it's not very surprising.
It's like a dichotomy of ethics and consequences within their story. For example, they've been neutral, or at least on paper, for 200 years, yet that neutrality has always kind of been tested throughout the time.
In World War I, our choice not to intervene pretty much costed us the chance to integrate the Åland Islands.
And in World War II, Sweden took almost all of Denmark's Jewish refugees. However, they did trade with Nazi Germany and let them use the railroad.
But it's like, what other choice did they have when they just witnessed and saw Denmark getting demolished and attacked and occupied in 6 hours? It's like, do you stay neutral yet technically cooperate, or fight back with no chance and lose everything? So many heavy choices with no simple answer.
Okay, so that basically explains to me why, when you haven't really heard much of them in the last. I mentioned the World War I and World War II, but the 200-year mark, but then they're definitely a player, before that point. So interesting there.
Well, that was fantastic and uplifting.
In any case, we must move on. One thing Sweden definitely does actually feel uplifted by would be their heavy involvement in sports.
And with that, Art usually fills in for the sports part, but again, he's still on vacation with his family, so I don't know. Noah, why don't you fill in? All right, Noah, you got to be Art this time. He's gone, so you know.
No, you missed the do, and you go too.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Sorry, but sports in Sweden. Fun fact, they actually won a half medal at the 1900 Olympics, technically. They teamed up with Denmark in the tug-of-war event. What? Yes, there actually used to be a tug-of-war event in the Olympics, which does sound pretty cool. Why would you get rid of that? I go to the Olympics to do tug.
I agree. Why would you get rid of that? That seems like something like high on my list as far as events I'd actually like to watch. So that's disappointing.
The war, that'd be pretty awesome.
You could just be your own team, Noah.
There are two sports that kind of originated in Sweden, brandball and floorball. Brandball is kind of like baseball, and floorball is basically like hockey with a ball on the floor. So the thing about Sweden is that each of their neighbors
I used to play floorball all the time, you know, and like gym class, and road hockey is basically the same thing. Floorball, you'd play road hockey and have a tennis ball, you know, and played hockey in the streets. So that's basically the same thing. And of course, ice hockey. So I know all about this kind of stuff, so this is awesome.
Neighbors is kind of like their biggest rivals in a certain sport. And of course, we can't mention football without mentioning their biggest player, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. But depending on who you ask, many people might say that ice hockey is the national sport. In 2006, they became the first and so far only team to win both tournaments in the same calendar year, Olympics and World Championships. They're part of the Big Six that are considered the best ice hockey teams in the world, including Canada, Czechia, Finland, Russia, and the United States. That's the sports parts.
Thank you, Noah. So much culture in Sweden. Actually, if you want to learn more about it, just read The Adventures of Niels. He rides a goose around Sweden and learns some life lessons along the way or something.
With that, here's Random Hannah with culture stuff.
With the timeless protection of ADT, it's safe to say...
One more commercial
Hey,
skip, guys.
unlock the
You're
front
doing
door.
great here. Doing great.
Hey guys, I'm back! Woo! In Sweden, you'll find that every region has its unique identity. For example, the Sami people of Lapland in the north, they have their reindeer herding, tents, and cult or yakti clothing. If you go to the south in Skåne, though, you'll find a radically different culture of glass blowing and silversmithing, stuff like that. Of course, we don't have time to dive into all the regions, but one thing you'll realize is that they all have a traditional costume, or folkdräkter. One thing you will see all over Sweden is a typical redwood farmhouse. They also have the Dalahäst, a wooden horse usually painted red with patterns. And speaking of iconic animals, Swedes actually love Donald Duck, even more than Mickey Mouse. And every year during Christmas, they show Donald Duck and his friends wish you a Merry Christmas on the TVs. Sweden also has many notable individuals in the arts and literature department. And probably the most critically well known is Anders Zorn, who is commissioned to paint numerous high-profile figures. Swedes are known for their crime, fiction, drama, and literature. They love the complex, moody scenarios. Many people attribute this guy, I'm not even going to try and say his name, as a founder of modern Scandinavian crime fiction. But the #1 best-selling Swedish author of all time is actually Astrid Lindgren. You've probably heard of her Pippi Longstocking series. And speaking of consumable media, if you want to learn about culture, history, and geography through film, check out Filmography Now, where we talk about people like Ingmar Bergman, who is a huge influential person in the film industry, and he was from Sweden. Finally, Sweden is known for having a ton of inventions and discoveries, such as nicotine gum, the pacemaker, the 3-point seatbelt, GPS, the ultrasound, dynamite, and the Celsius temperature scale. And 4 elements on the periodic table were named after the town Ytterby. I give up, guys. Too many strange vowels and sounds. And one thing you should give up on is Keith and his music segment. Take it away, Keith.
Wow, so we're finally talking about this country that I have totally not any sort of bias towards. Oh wait, hold on, I think I'm forgetting something. I hope everybody recognizes my favorite Swedish band right here. Let's talk about Sweden, shall we? Technically, Sweden doesn't have a national anthem. So they have this one song, it's called Du Gamma Du Fria. I guess it's the de facto anthem, but not the official one. There's tons of really great Swedish folk songs accompanied.
So for if you win a gold medal and they have to play they usually play your national anthem, would that be the song they play, if you when you win, medals? It's interesting.
Acto anthem, but not the official one. There's tons of really great Swedish folk songs accompanied by the Swedish nickel harp. Kind of looks like a keyboard mixed with like a violin. Who likes Strandberg guitars? I do. Just so many great guitar players. Per Nelson, greatest guitar player I think out of Sweden. There's also Yngwie Malmsteen, Ola Öglund, Michael Ackerfeldt. I don't understand why Scandinavia has produced some of the world's greatest guitar players. Anyways, Sweden has also a very pop-centric side. Who doesn't know ABBA? I Want to Be a Dancing Queen. ABBA won in 1974 for the Eurovision contest. Also, now ABBA's actually going to be making a new album after doing 40 years of basically nothing.
Wow.
Since then, Sweden has been kind of the pioneers of like electro pop and dance music. More well-known artists might be like Avicii, the Carnigans, Swedish House Mafia, Roxette. Funny thing is a lot of American pop songs were written by Swedes. Max Martin has hundreds of songs. Before I go, some of the bands that I really do enjoy are Opeth, Meshuggah, Pain of Salvation, Sabaton, there's Beardfish. I wish I could name them all. Anyways, you guys have a great one. Love y'all.
Thank you, Keith. Any music suggestions for Swedish music?
Robin, she's a great musician.
Benjamin Ingrosso is killing it.
Well, speaking of which, Carolina is a musician and an artist, and you can follow her Spotify at this link right here.
No.
I will promote it. I will promote your Spotify. Don't be all Logum or Yantalo and whatever that is on me. You got to promote yourself. This is America.
So far released 3 Swedish songs, 1 English one.
You want to promote anything? You have a website? Anything?
No.
You were in a Norwegian movie and it got an Emmy Award.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, your music has touched the world in so many ways. And another way Sweden has made its name across the world is by interacting with it. So let's move on to the friend zone.
Now, Sweden has an interesting way of dealing with the rest of the world.
They kind of have a hands-off unless really necessary approach to international conflict.
For one, their security doctrine states that they have a nonpartisan stance in regards to military alliances. However, it permits cooperation with threats against peace security with their military. Yes, Sweden has a military. Nonetheless, they joined the EU in 1995, which some criticized as being against neutrality, but Sweden decided to see it as an extension of economic activity that had already been going on with the EU, and they also hold the right to not participate in EU defense. Today, they have 79 embassies abroad on all inhabited continents. In Asia, Iraq actually has had relations way before conflict years, dating back to the 30s, when members of the royal family visited Baghdad to see King Ghazi of Iraq. In the 80s, Swedish companies opened up in Iraq, trade was developing well for a while, and after conflict years, many Iraqis chose Sweden as their destination as refugees. The USA and Canada have always been close, as the US has the largest Swedish diaspora community at over 4 million people, most heavily concentrated in Minnesota. Canada having just about 500,000 with a huge community in Manitoba. Between 1820 to 1930, about 1.3 million Swedes immigrated to the Americas, which was at that time about 1/3 of the entire country. And today, these nations not only had a close historical bond, but in almost every diplomatic measure aside from military conflict, they've cooperated. Bringing it closer to home, Sweden is actually one of the top donors of Moldova in regards to aid and development. They set a strategy of cooperation in 2007, which gives 11 million euros dedicated to good governance, economy, and rural development. Now we go even closer to the inner circle, the Nordics. Every single one of these 5 nations and their territories has an opinion about...
So who's the number one Nordic friend to Sweden? I'm kind of curious who's going to be number one here.
Sweden, and the gossip is heavy. Finland is, of course, really close, as for about 600 years they were actually a part of Sweden. And today, Finns are one of the largest non-Swedish communities with a protected language in pockets throughout the country. For Iceland, it's like, we're cool with them, nothing against them. They talk like our ancient Norse ancestors, but otherwise, they're totally our distant cousins. Then we get to the last two, Denmark and Norway. Now here's the thing, each one kind of has a small historical gripe with Sweden. Denmark, as you know, has had more wars with Sweden than any two nations on Earth, constantly fighting over influence for Northern Europe. Norway was kind of pissed that Sweden's neutrality prevented them from intervening in war times when they thought the Swedish were like really close and Norway was even part of Sweden. This was especially evident in World War II. It was like the moment of tension. Nonetheless, at the end of the day, you cannot separate the Scandinavian trio. They just get each other too well. They share too much, they have the same...
Oh, come on, you gotta pick one here. I want some controversy here, like... You know, because, you know, Norway gets picked, and, you know, then Denmark is like, what the, you know, I don't know. You know me, come on. I was like, I think they picked the safe path. Just kidding. Just kidding.
General Scandinavian minds, they have that Viking blood. They are truly people of the North. After the insults have been hurled, they will probably say, okay, yeah, we love each other. Denmark and Sweden, though, will probably first hug Norway before hugging each other. But otherwise, yeah, inseparable trio.
All right, and in conclusion, you are the Swedes. I'm going to step out, hold the flag in the background while you speak freely from the heart.
I want to say, in conclusion, Sweden is a beautiful country with beautiful nature, beautiful architecture, if we haven't mentioned that just yet.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, if you meet a Swedish person, he or she might be a little I'm not sure about you, but lead on with a smile and some love, and you'll get the exact same back, I promise you.
I like that. That was good. All right, well, thank you guys so much for being in this episode.
Thank you.
And stay tuned. Switzerland is coming up next.
Woohoo! Yeah, stay tuned for Switzerland. Definitely a very amazing country, as expected. Definitely loved learning definitely more about you guys. So I'll definitely keep that in mind if I go visit, that if people are standoffish, that you just gotta kind of like, they just gotta warm up to you kind of thing, you know, and they'll get there kind of thing. So that's definitely good to know. But like, if I was going to go visit anywhere, I would definitely at least do some research first. Like, I'd probably like rewatch this video if I was going to Sweden like tomorrow, kind of thing. It makes sense, right? And probably try and learn, I guess, some sayings, you know, from Swedish sayings, just to kind of maybe get by a little bit. But I guess with phones, they kind of have those apps that kind of translate for you, so that would definitely help it a lot. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sweden, awesome country, and yeah, I hope you guys continue along. For those of you, you know, who are new, you know, continue along to new countries, and I do a lot of different kind of war stuff and this stuff, you know, geography stuff. So definitely check out those videos. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Helps me out a lot. And yeah, definitely catch you guys in future videos. This was very fun, and yeah, appreciate it, guys. Peace. You guys have a great day, great night.